How you doing, man?
Crazy, but
Yeah.
let's go.
All right.
Is it on yet?
I think we should be actually live now. Now I'm gonna double check. I gotta. Here we go. She in private chat. How you doing tonight, man? I gotta
I'm doing all
your
right.
YouTube
Had a
channel.
little
Just
couple hiccups, but I'm
yep.
good now.
That's how it goes. It's just the first time. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna check my channel to see if we are blowing. Yep, we're blowing. All right, we're on. That's so awesome. Everything just sometimes the
Right,
universe
right.
just gives you what you need. I got to change the layout here real quick because I got to pop you on stage. Okay, so let's see here. Settings. Okay. Anyway, just give me a second. It's been a day. It's the end of the legislative session here in Juneau in Alaska, so it's like there's just so many moving parts. Okay, so let's see here. Add item. Okay, I'm gonna cancel out of this for a second. Okay, here we go. Boom. All right, you should be. I gotta. Yeah, here we go. That's the one we want. All right, we are ready to rock.
All right.
Excellent. So, I don't know if I'm sure that pretty much everybody here, and hello, YB, I see you in chat. And I see a couple folks in chat. That's great. I'm sure like most people here would know Grisch from Wendy's television because there's like got to be like a huge overlap in the people that watch our content just because of the Justice for Dan Markel thing.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's kind of what we're going to start with, at least. And I mean, we'll kind of just see where things lead us. But Grish and I have been talking for a little bit, just sort of hanging out. When did you first get into this case? That's a good place to start.
The first time I got into this case was after, when Sigfredo got arrested. And then I learned about Luis Rivera, but I remember Luis Rivera from the Latin Kings RICO.
Oh, okay, so Sigfredo got arrested in like what 2016. I just kind of want to place it somewhere around there.
May 30th, 2016.
Wow. Okay. And so that you saw like something in the news or something online or something, and just kind of
right. I saw that, and I thought the case sounded crazy, but they talked about Luis Rivera, and when they said he was in prison for an unrelated crime, I was like, what? Like, I know about the Latin Kings RICO, so it's very related. But excellent. It's like
and so that's like a whole separate case that like I haven't really looked into that much. Like what's up with the Latin Kings RICO case? Can you lay that out a little bit, or how familiar are you with that case?
I read some of the paperwork on it when I first heard about it, because I never heard of a RICO for a street gang, especially a large one like the Latin Kings. So it was only about the Miami set, and when I was reading into it, I noticed like how Luis, he was the Inca, the leader of that set, and he copped out to for 12 years, which I thought was for his history, I thought that was kind of low.
Yeah.
But when I started learning about the Adelson case, I realized first when they first started saying Luis Rivera was in prison for an unrelated crime, I knew that the Latin Kings were under investigation when Sigfredo and Luis went to Tallahassee.
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many like interesting tributaries into this case. I mean, that's the thing about it, is not only is there that side of it, but then there's also like the side of it that I've heard a little bit about with Catherine McBanua. She has some family member that also got caught with embezzling a bunch of money. So there's like
it was her aunt.
Yeah, there's like a weird like web of cases that you could just spend forever going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, and what's wild is that Luis, in his proffer, he said when he was driving up to Tallahassee in July of 2014, he said that when he got pulled over, his license was suspended, and he said that the cops didn't bother him, and and then at that point he said, we should turn around. Do you know that part?
Yeah, I do. Now that you mention it, I do remember it, but I haven't read that much. But yeah, that's like he probably sensed that something was off. Maybe. What do
Right.
you
Do you
think?
know how federal investigations work in that sense?
I mean, I a little bit, but if you want to enlighten us, that'd be great.
Okay. So if you're being investigated by the federal government, a lot of times what they'll have is a non-interference by local
Ah,
law enforcement.
yeah, yeah.
So you you could be doing whatever, and police will never pull you over, never have problems. And but the thing is that so the feds can monitor you, so you don't get caught for something else and then quit altogether.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I bet Luis said something wrong right away just by how long it took the cops to get back to the car or whatever. Like just
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. He's so plugged in, I bet. Like because what probably happened is the cops ran him through whatever the local in Alaska it's called APS, and that's the Criminal Justice Information Database. And they
Yeah.
ran him through that. They saw like a weird flag on that account. They're like, "Oh my god, what is this?" And they probably took like 20 minutes at least to get back to the car. And Luis by that time was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, something is up."
And when he was talking about that in the proffer, um, Agent Sanford from the FBI was like shifting around in his chair and everything.
Yeah,
Like he
yeah.
definitely was flustered by Luis low key taunting him in that proffer, saying, we should turn around, like, and that's how he knows. That's how
Mhm.
you know that that's what was going on. But
Mm,
yeah, they were definitely under federal investigation. Luis knew it. Even in his paperwork, you can tell he shifted from the type of drugs he was selling. He went
yeah,
from like coke and stuff and switched over to um wholesaling prescription non-narcotic drugs
because he
like
didn't wanna be on the streets. Yeah, he wanted to get off the street level probably.
well, I think to more so compartmentalize the money flow in Latin Kings. So he
Okay.
was doing these high risk wholesale drug deals or for like 60,
Oh,
70K. And that's a way that he can help feed
yeah.
his lower people. But I think they kind of all like chilled out for a while under his direction. Like as much of a fucked up person that Luis is, I gotta admit that this man is super gangster and
He lives by a code.
he lives by a code. And I think
Yeah.
um it's he knew for so many times that he was making a mistake on the way. He says it in a proper, but he speaks in his own way.
Yeah.
But he knew it was time to
Hmm.
turn around, but
So let's
situation
just take
wouldn't
a
let him.
I just wanna take a quick pause here because, like, I feel like we could just launch off into this direction, but first of all, can you see the comments, like, on the side of the stream? I just wanna make sure, like, 'cause I'm highlighting some of them here, but I kinda wanted to check in
Oh,
with the
I'm just seeing it. I didn't see any. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so people are saying, Maya says she's obsessed with you, and I am too.
Whoa.
The other thing that we were gonna do real quick is I just wanna check and see, like, how our levels are, on the video, so I'm just gonna play a snippet real quick,
Okay.
and if folks in the chat, could tell me okay, so I'm just trying to figure out which window. I have, like, fucking a billion windows open, so let me just fire this guy real
I've been
quick and
following this case pretty closely, and I've noticed that a good amount of
so if you guys in the chat could tell me how that volume level was, that'd be awesome. I'm paging back down. Yeah. Oh, what's up? Markeith Morris is in the chat. Awesome. A great commenter. And what's one of the real privileges, and I'm sure you've found this too, is like there's so many great commenters in the Dan Markel world, and you kind of
Yes.
just get to see their insights as well. It's almost like you become like a little bit of like a clearinghouse for great ideas. And so I just get so many great ideas from commenters, and Markeith is a great example of a commenter. Okay, Markeith, you can hear.
Same with Maya Rodriguez.
Yes, definitely.
She's on almost all of my videos. Um, and I really like that. And I also like when I see the people that comment a lot on my videos comment on other people's videos as well. It's like
Yep.
I can tell that they're really engaged with the case. They're not, just
Yes.
saying stuff to say stuff because
Mm,
I'm not like I mean, what, a million subscribers or something where people are just
yeah.
it's like it's a lot of people that really are into what I'm doing, and I really like that. And I
Mm.
like them being engaged with the case because I'm obsessed with it.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's just such a it's kind of like one of the best true crime communities I've come across. Although, I mean, it's not something I have like a ton of time for, but just saying hi to Chris. from Australia. That's so wild. There's people across the globe, just in this little community. Hey,
Wow.
Thomas. Thomas is somebody that I met from my Scientology arc. And so you just kind of find like a bunch of interesting people from it. I sort of travel in a lot of little different weird niche communities. So yeah, my OG. For sure. So I'm just kind of cruising through the comments here, saying hi to everybody. Old Pueblo Hops. That's a great username. Never going to be accused of over preparing. Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. Yes, in some ways, and yes, in some ways, no. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you just kind of got to throw your hat over the wall and go retrieve it. YB says now the Latin Kings are after Chuck in prison. Yeah. Have you been following like Fancy's latest drops on that, Grish?
Oh, on Sigfredo?
Oh, well, just on like the whole like how Charlie's in admin confinement and apparently
Yeah.
getting extorted and all this. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's gonna happen for anybody. It's not just gonna be the Latin Kings. It's gonna be people who want to get respect. Charlie is what some would call a stripe. So you would get stripes like in the military if you do something
Yep.
overt like that. And Charlie's not in the hole. Administrative confinement or ad seg or special needs yard is when you have people who are obviously targets, like child molesters,
Yep.
transgenders, these type of folks, rats, all that stuff. So
so much of like the window dressing of polite society just goes right out the window, but it also prison has like a certain orderliness to it that like that world makes sense in a way. And I think that's sort of why people get institutionalized, is because of like that gap between the real world and the inside,
Right.
It's a strange trip,
But he's in there with some of society's worst people that can't be in general population. So he'll probably, I'm not saying that he will try to go to general population, but I really think he's gonna suffer in there, and because he's just around, like, no one wants to be around, Sickelodian. You know what I mean?
What is that Sickelodian? Oh, just because he
You know what I'm talking about, right?
well, I mean,
Nickelodeon for kids, Sickelodian.
yeah, okay, yeah. I know. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking
Those
about.
types,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, and you sort of alluded to it earlier as well. Like people that have those type of convictions, sex crimes convictions in jail, are like their life is like a living hell.
Yeah, they're the worst.
Do you think that Charlie is labeled like that because of his sex tourism shit, or like what is it about him? Or is it just the fact that he was like so out of pocket, or like what is it about him? Do you think that sets them off in there?
One is that he doesn't have any a support system inside.
Yep.
Got
no people.
Right. He when he was in trial, when he was going through trial, he should have really got cool with people that could just say, "Oh, I met this dude. He's cool. Just don't, that's what you." I mean, but he doesn't know that, and he's got Rashy, trash bomb.
Rashy. Yeah, that's so true. And Rashy's not plugged into Tallahassee like I think he should be if he like really was trying to. Or I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how Rashbaum handles, delegating stuff to other, like a local attorney, because I've heard that they're gonna try to do that, I guess. But yeah, it's a wild world.
He doesn't even have he's never done a murder case.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's like a white collar criminal guy. So it's just like it's such a mismatch. I mean,
it's a mismatch, but you know what else it is? It's a way that you can figure out what's really going on with the Adelsons. If you see people that get arrested in a group or separately, but it's all on the same case, look at their lawyers. You see what I mean? So if you have say for example, someone gets pulled over for reckless driving, right? And then they get a lawyer, they'll probably get a DUI lawyer, some kind of traffic type of lawyer. But then if they have like the best drug lawyer, that they did something else. You see,
right?
What I mean?
Yes, exactly. It's a clue for sure.
Right. So you have trash bomb. He's white collar. You have.
That's such a great insight. How come I didn't think of that?
What is it, Castalzo?
She's
medical fraud.
Jesus H.
Even on
That
our website, it says
wow,
like
I never put that together, Grish.
medicalfraud something.com. And
Yeah.
then Wendi has John Laurel,
Wow.
who's Donald Trump's attorney. Come on, what are you talking about? These people aren't trying to defend themselves for a murder. They're trying to defend their money.
Oh, Noah's up in the chat. It is great to see you, my friend. Yeah, we had
Noah,
a wild stream last night, and we were sort of exploring the Micah Miller world. Have you looked into that case at all, Grish?
which
It's
one?
just it's like a brand new case with this woman named Micah Miller, and her husband is a pastor, and he like she the authorities are saying that she committed suicide, and like shortly afterwards, this pastor guy like gave a sermon about it, and it was like really creepy. And so people think,
I saw you and Noah talk about it yesterday.
yeah, it's a really wild case, and it's something I was
Yeah.
interested in following a little bit.
And her
Yeah,
video was crazy. Like it really was. I had that feel. I can't describe it, but that feeling when you see something and you know it's just fucked up, and you're
yeah,
just like, oh, I know he did this. You
yep.
know?
Yeah, and it was interesting. I just started posted for the first time. Just commented on it's actually called Justice for Micah Miller, which is I
Mhm.
don't know whether or not they templated that after the Markel thing, but it's an interesting community from the little bit I've explored it, and just sort of chatting with them about it. It
Mhm.
seems like the timeline for her suicide is like pretty locked in, or at least that's what the authorities are representing at this point. So but you're right. It's like, even if he didn't like physically do it, it seems like he had some sort of weird coercive control over her. Or at least that's what I think, because I've spent a lot of time looking into cult stuff. So that's probably my own bias speaking a little bit there, but
What kind of gun was it?
Oh, it was a Sig Sauer 9mm. She just had bought it from a secondhand store, a pawn shop, like right before she killed herself. Yeah.
I don't think she did that. I think it was some kind of coercive. I don't know that it just. I don't know much about it. I just saw y'all
Yeah.
talk about it. Then I did a little Googling, and I
Mm,
just no,
yep.
no, not at all.
Me
Definitely,
Yo saying hi from Vancouver. I love Vancouver. I haven't been there in a while, but that was like one of the first big cities I explored, because I'm
yeah.
here in Juneau in Southeast Alaska, and so it's like probably like the closest big city to me. And Vancouver is like off the chain, or at least it definitely was in like the late 90s, early 2000s, when I used to go there. When I
Yeah.
was like 17, you could get into bars and stuff because Canada's drinking laws are different, and yeah, it's a
Uh,
lot.
yeah, I know.
Wild scene. So hi from Vancouver, just kind of catching up with the comments. Um, yeah, I think Markifier is referring to Charlie and administrative confinement. We were talking that I don't think I could do that, and so I don't know that I have like an overly similar personality type to Charlie, but the one similarity I do see is like we both talk people's ears off at times, and so it's like I know that instinct, and I know that like what he must be feeling, at least on some level, like he's just trapped in his own head right now.
Right, but he probably dug himself a pretty big hole by the things he was saying to other inmates. So even if the inmates aren't into the current events, someone's gonna be like, "Hey, look at this guy. This guy had his commissary stacked. He doesn't know what's going on. He told me this, and this." And then he goes to the next place. They're waiting for him.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
he's oh man, for someone that he just wanted to be into this shit. You know what I mean? But he's a dentist, but he's
Yeah.
selling steroids. He's on the fringe of like
Yep.
drug dealing. He's not. He just wants to look important, like he's on the ed, on the like he's edgy, but
Yep.
that's not why you you do that stuff.
No. Yeah. And yeah. And I am very comfy. I spent a little time like building this setup, and you wouldn't even believe the monkey business I've been up to, but it's coming together. So I appreciate that, and that you're letting us know the sound is good.
Good.
I've literally watched every Grish video 10 times. They blow my mind. I've watched them 10 times is probably like a pretty good estimate for some of them, like for sure. Like, and just rewatching them again when I was taking detailed notes, which is something we should get into here shortly. I was thinking like, I don't know. I guess we can just try and see how it works. But I was thinking like just kind of doing like a little bit of a director's commentary. At least maybe we could start with episode 1. And
Okay.
I don't know how do you feel about that?
I don't. Yeah, I'm with it. Just
Yeah,
one thing. My
sure.
audio in that was my first time
Yeah,
recording my voice for a video,
yeah.
and it sounded bad. I wanted to delete it and re-upload it, but then it was just getting a lot of
Yeah.
views, so I was like, "Ah, I guess it's all right."
Yeah, I have that same I do that all the time too, Grish. Like I go back and like unlist a bunch of my old stuff because I'm just like insanely self-critical. But I was telling you a little bit before, you have like a very unique, interesting voice that I think really adds like a big layer to your video. And I don't really notice it. I can tell that like your skill level is getting higher with each video, but it doesn't ruin the effect of it the first video at all for me. So
Okay,
okay,
good.
so Mary Ann's saying we're a little bit low. Let me pot it up a little bit, just because I want to make sure it's accessible for everybody. It'll just take me 2 seconds to pot it up a little bit. Just want to make sure that our mics are up a little bit. Okay, so turn that up. Let it we'll check in again on the sound here in a second. Just paging through the comments here. Volume's a little low. Okay, so if you can let us know. Wow, there's a ton of comments.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through them.
But let us know if that helped at all. If I potted it up a little bit, I increased the volume a little bit. Yeah, yeah, I get it. Do you want to? I mean, is there one that you would prefer to start with out of
Um,
the series, or would you want to just maybe rip off on volume one, or what do you think? What are you
I
thinking?
think I think the best one to start is probably 4.
Okay.
I think that's the one that I really got nailed a bunch of things like with the beach photo and things like that.
Yes.
If you want to go to the early ones, I don't mind, but I think 2 and 3 are one and the same in terms of Wendy's character traits. But
Yeah.
I think most of the people here are really
Yeah. Pretty
um,
advanced. Yeah.
really advanced, so we can
Yeah. Let's try 4. Yeah, that's a great idea. It is. I
yeah.
think it's like the stuff that you figured out from like open source things about like the coloring. Yeah, it's just a wild. And so thanks for letting us know the volume is better. That's really helpful. I'm glad you were just sort of. I just like in my head. I see like 4 months from now, like doing the Don Adelson trial and just having a ton of fun. So let's try this guy real quick. Let's just see how it plays.
You can put me on speaker.
I'm just gonna let that first few seconds play, and if you guys could let us know how the volume. I guess it's. Let me play a little bit.
Yeah.
Enabled Wendy to get Kitty's contact information.
Just let
Wait,
me.
wait, wait. Go back to the beginning if you don't mind, because there
Yeah.
was that part I took a lot of time in making it in terms of the part where Donna's in the backseat of the car, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I wanted the audio to be layered with the audio of Wendy's interrogation, like or interview, to align with what Donna was going through right at that second. So like toward the end, it says, "I need this and I need that," but Donna's shaking her head at the same time.
Mm.
So that was one part that I didn't think many people saw, that like how the audio was,
Mm.
where the audio was coming from versus the visual.
Yeah, that's really. And we'll have to keep an eye out for that. And I tried
At the
to like
beginning.
I tried to do some reading about editing stuff, and like I think they're called like L cuts and J cuts, where like the audio comes in before the frame, before you cut to the picture, and or the other way around,
Mhm.
sometimes they're really effective. I just noticed one. I was watching the opening scene of The Green Mile recently, and in the opening scene of that, there's like a super effective L cut where you hear like the sounds of like the farm stuff going on in the background, and then like this old man's eyes open up and before this, and then the sound changes like a beat later, and it's like
Yeah,
those kind of things are like super effective to like shift you into
absolutely.
a good segue trick. Let's just play like maybe like the first minute of this and
Okay.
see how that goes. Yeah, let's try that. I think this should be really
That's the part
interesting.
I was talking about. It's right at the beginning.
Okay, great. Let's fire this off, and we'll pause after that
Okay.
and yeah, and check in.
You can put me on speaker. Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it.
Okay, really low. Let me turn it up. Actually,
Yeah.
okay. So let's play it again here. Sorry about that, but okay,
You
that
can
sounds
put me on
better to me.
speaker.
No, I really appreciate that, Mary.
Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it. And so I know. So I found this out around 1 or 2 today, and I'm at the police station, and I'm trying to help them figure out who may have done this. The boys are fine. I had Lynn and Alan pick them up from school, and they're with Lynn and Alan right now. And I'm gonna leave here soon and go be with them. But I really need you to come here and be with me. But I want you to either fly. I mean, obviously you can't leave right now, but I need you to get.
What a great shot! The slow pull out too, because that's definitely not in the original, right? Gosh, that's so cinematic, Grish. So yeah, take us through that. Like, why start there?
Well, first, after the third Wendy's television episode, I was getting a lot of comments about when Wendi would get arrested, and people asking about that, and I just thought of I just had to do that with her name and just add the H in there, and then the what's it? Is that an ellipsis with the 3 dots or the 4
Yep.
dots? I did it with 4 because it's Wendy's television part 4.
I love it.
Yeah, it's subtle. Yeah, no one caught that. I took so much time on that, lining that audio up, and then no one caught it. I was like, but it's all good. But
Interesting.
when I had the part where she's talking about who her children were with. Now, this doesn't really have to do with what was going on the screen, but like in her interview, when she's talking to Donna, she's like, Danny has been shot. And Donna goes, what?
Yep.
And then she just starts, it's like a script. But one thing I noticed, she said, they're with Alan and Lynn right now. Now, when you talk to your mom or someone and you mention one of your friends or people that are nearby to you, or close to you and just on a first name basis, it makes me think that Donna knows who they are. And if your kids are with Alan and Lynn, who are they? Because I never heard their name anywhere else. And on your call report, there was no Alan, there was no Lynn.
Weird. So have you ever find anything else more? Because I have never heard those names either.
Yeah, like it was right there. It was right. Yeah, it's in the interview. So when I did some Googling.
God, that's wild.
And I just started looking up search terms for people who would be in Tallahassee under those names who would possibly be close to Wendi. I couldn't find the Lynn, but I did find who I believe the Alan was. And
you want to hold that in your back pocket, or do you want to talk about that at all?
I'll just do it, okay? Because I'm put it in the next part.
Okay, it'll be preview maybe.
So when I thought, if you're gonna try to avoid being caught, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that let me just start. All right. If you're committing crimes, all right, committing crime is easy. The work is keeping from getting caught, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with murder is there's no statute of limitations. So everything you do afterwards has to be you have to have the vigilance of not being caught, and everything. You have to cover your tracks. And everybody says, oh, Wendi covered her tracks well. No, she didn't. It's very easy for me to see that. And if anybody who's worth their salt out there would know, just if they really got into this case, would know she is sloppy as hell. Okay.
Yeah.
So when after Dan Markel died, remember she already took the money from the divorce settlement, right? Before she took that what 300K, 400K or something,
Yeah, 350,
and,
I think. Yeah.
and she got 2 million off the life insurance. Where do you think that went?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay, where did she say she did for a living? I do nonprofits. Everybody knows if you're doing some dirt and you want to put a lot of money somewhere, you put it in a nonprofit.
Huh. I don't know that. I guess.
So
Well, I
listen to
guess.
that. Now, listen to this.
Sure.
So I saw a picture of Wendy Adelson with Andrew Gillum,
Right.
okay, who was running for governor of Florida.
Yeah, he almost won. That was a close race.
Yeah, then he had some crazy shit happen at a hotel or
Yes.
something. Yeah.
Yes, he did. I remember
So
that news story. Yes.
I saw that picture with the Wendy Adelson and Andrew Gillum. I'm like, why are you in Tallahassee? Like being like she had the super cheese smile. She was so into it, like into the picture, like she was smiling ear to ear. So why would you be around this guy? Well, governors in Florida appoint judges, right? And there's a judge. There's in that specific district, there's this one guy that keeps wanting to be a judge in the specific court where they're trying all the other cases, that specific district within that Leon County. And there's a guy named Allen that has been trying to be a judge for the past 10 years. And he's been getting
Oh.
denied. And that would be the guy who would
Yeah.
be the judge. So if you're trying to be buddy in 2015 with Andrew Gillum, who could possibly appoint your friend Allen to be a judge, does that make sense? It makes sense, right? If you want to influence a politician, you give them money, which he has, and you would get them to try to appoint your friend to be a judge, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now, Katie's trial started in, I think, August or something, August or September 2019. I have a document where Wendy started a nonprofit and put that guy Allen as a director.
Oh my God. Has there been other
I have
stuff?
the whole mind map on that.
Oh man, has there
break it
been
down.
other videos on this at all? Because I haven't heard about this at
No,
all.
you haven't. No, you haven't. I was Googling.
Yeah, that
So-
sounds like I can't wait to see that. That is wild stuff.
Yeah. So
You're like really pulling at like the actual like where the money's going. Maya, I just want to comment on this. Like, feel free. Like, I don't know if there's filters on. I didn't put any filters on chat. If you want to drop an F-bomb, like, do you? But yeah, yeah, that's so wild. It's like there's again sort of going back to what we were talking about earlier. There's so many tentacles in this case, and it's
Right.
like I was totally unaware of that. I mean, I guess it makes sense with the nonprofit thing because they are like a tax shelter in a way, like they're designed similarly in a sense.
Right. And so she started that nonprofit right at the beginning of around Katie's trial and put that guy who's been trying to be a judge on the fucking payroll. And I looked at the address of where his office is, and guess where it is? Directly next door to ABC Liquors.
Weird. So that's like why she knew that area or whatever.
That's why she had to go there. It wasn't about it was about the
Oh, so you think
she did because she talked so much about how the guy at the Bullet Burger place, the ABC Liquors, was talking about what was he talking about? Oh, her contacts and all, but no, it wasn't about him. You met someone else at the ABC Liquors.
Smart comment, Markeith. If there was a guest book for the bar mitzvah, I bet Alan and Lynn were present. Yeah, that'd be interesting to check. Or just like if you can find old social media posts, you might be able to find like a Facebook connection or something. But yeah, that's
that picture of Andrew Gillum and Wendi was on Reddit. I forgot who posted it, but I'll give. Of course, I'm gonna give them credit when I do the video. But you'll have the whole mind map, the man's full name, where he works, where he's been working, and it's directly next door to ABC Liquors.
Yeah, that is
I have the
so.
documents in PDF format of her putting him on her payroll.
Hmm.
Leon
Yeah.
County. He's a Leon County employee.
So what do you? Is he? What kind of? Is he some kind of professional, like a lawyer? Or?
He's an
Yeah.
attorney
Yeah.
that represents like kids. It's called like addictive or something.
Yeah. A guardian ad litem. Yeah. It's
Ad litem.
Yep.
Thank you. He's the ad litem attorney for Leon County. His name's Alan Abramovitz.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those are sort of like public defenders, but for like
Yeah.
child cases. Yeah, I worked on some what in Alaska we call them China or child need aid cases, and it's a wild scene in family court, and yeah, you have to kind of it's a whole different ball game, because like you get cases like the Adelson case where you have these high conflict divorces, and yeah, that was a really great opening shot. Did you want to check out another section of something, or yeah, I'm just scrubbing through here, and there's like so much interesting stuff here. What do you think? Where are you thinking about checking out next?
Let's look in the comments and see what.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, for sure. We should check in with the comments, and I like to do that, and I'm trying to get better about that. Yeah, I sort of don't really follow politics that closely, but he seemed like he had some good qualities, and I just wish him nothing but the best. I just don't know that much other than a couple news stories I read about Andrew Gillum.
Yes.
Mary Ann Nizia says Wendy's godfather's retired Democrat state senator, so that's how they have political influence, but it's fading fast. Yeah, I knew that they had some plug that, and because it wasn't like the last. There was some guy that was he like the DA there or something like that they might have had some relationship with. What was that all about?
Willie Meggs was the DA in Leon County, but he announced his retirement. All right, he didn't go for re-election in 2016.
Oh,
he announced his retirement in mid 2015, and that's I believe it's around the time when the FBI got on the case.
Oh, that probably can't be coincidental, right? I mean,
I think the FBI got on the case shortly after Luis copped out on his part of the RICO conspiracy. So when they got onto that case, they apparently they had to be in touch with probably the ISIM or someone, and they ended up finding out like he announced his retirement at that point.
Yeah, all that like local stuff there. And the other thing that came up when we were talking with Noah about like the local scene there is like I sort of thought of this because Juneau is the capital of Alaska, and so there's like it's just, especially during the session, it just totally changes the composition of the town, and I'm sure Tallahassee has to be similar. So it's just a town where there's a lot of very politically connected people. Mark Keefe saying that John Lauro switched Wendi to his primary over Trump because he actually enjoys being paid. Yeah, that's what an interesting client roster that is. Yeah.
All these white collar attorneys for a murder. And John Lauro, this is the thing about John Lauro. He is so just super confident in his client, Wendi Adelson, and it's like, you really believe her? You really believe that she wasn't driving down like all the things that she probably said to him is one thing that a lawyer does not want is when their client is not being upfront with them about their bullshit. Okay. And he is it seems like he just really believes whatever she put down. And I'll tell you this, that whole Trescott thing about her driving to the crime scene, how did she know to go there? Think about that. How did you know she know to go there? She heard the gunshot, bro.
You think she was in the area then?
She was directly behind at 2055 Thomasville Road. That's the place where Sigfredo and Luis went to go and go behind and get that drop
Oh,
I talked about.
yeah.
So you can hear. I did a what is it called? A
It's sort of
little
like a sound
demonstration
desk.
showing like how sound
Yep.
is. All right. First of all, a gun is loud on its own, but
Yep.
if you ever put say you put your phone in an open cardboard container, right? It's louder. So the gunshot will be louder. And then there was a neighbor that's in the paperwork that called the police and heard the gunshot. So
Geiger. Yeah.
so if you take it that radius, that she would be within earshot of the gunshot.
Oh my God, that would be so. I can just see like the shot in your in like in some future video of yours, like where you model that like on a map or something like that.
Oh
That's
yeah, I got
so.
that. I'm already doing that part. You know how I
Yeah.
did like the whole there was a part where Roberta Glass, I was answering a question off of Roberta Glass. I think it was in the Adelson Q&A. And I mapped out like where they were versus the back of the Adelson's house and everything like that. So when I'm gonna get my thoughts together.
Yeah, no problem.
When I believe that when the shot rang out, Wendi was right there, and that's only like 300 feet from the Adelson's house. And then the ABC Liquors is only 1,000 feet from that location.
Yeah, I mean that, and especially because, like you said, it was in a garage, so that's almost like it's almost like a speaker box that will
Yep,
like project the noise. You know?
exactly.
Yeah, that's so wild. And that does sort of make sense to me, but I just hadn't sort of visualized like where she was in terms of like her phone data or whatever you're using to plug that in. You know?
Yeah, I think that this was really well planned out, but Wendi just went on her own. She just went rogue. Once the Best Buy, the Geek Squad guy was gone, she was like, "Oh, I'm going down there,"
Hmm.
and she
Do you
went
think
right.
that she thought that the Best Buy guy would come later, or what do you think was going on there? Do you have any instinct on that besides stuff that's been in the? I don't know if you've covered that much in your videos. I can't remember at this point.
No, because my videos are basically in chronological order,
Right.
so I haven't gotten to that part yet, but it's going to be in the next part. But I think that Wendi and the whole Best Buy thing was Donna and Charlie's idea because they knew that she would not stay at home, right? So if they know her better than anyone, she will not stay at home. And I think that they're looking at June 4th and say, "Oh, this didn't happen." Where was she during that time? They don't know. They need to know where she is because they need to know where she should not be. Is that on Trescott? So they probably formulate this plan to tell her it's an alibi, but it's more than an alibi. It's an alibi. It's telling them where her location, and it's also notifying them of what happened. So I believe that the way this was supposed to go was that the guy comes, fixes a TV, and then Wendi stays at home. While she's at home, she's watching her TV. And then when the police show up, it's on the news. And when it's on the news, she can either call them, but I think what she was supposed to do,
Can I
notice how
just ask you one question real quick? When
yeah,
you refer to them, who you're referring to?
Donna and Charlie.
Okay.
So they needed to be notified of what was going on, right? You can't keep someone up to date and have it reflect on your call record. So I think that what they planned out was for it to be like Charlie buys the TV, right? Donna has the warranty thing, and then they called Wendi at 8 in the morning. But see, when Best Buy comes, they have Charlie's email, they have Donna's email,
Right.
and then they added Wendy's email. And then when that all happens, what Wendi can do to notify them is, or when Donna forwards the email to her about the TV repair appointment, she can put a read receipt on the email. And so when Wendi opens it, she gets a notification. And so I believe Wendi was supposed to open a forwarded email to get the notification. And I think that's what happened. So when she heard the gunshots, she opened the email. Then Donna calls Charlie at 11:06.
Right.
That was the covert method of notification.
My God. So they must have spent like so long planning this whole thing out. And so and the other thing about that, the whole thing about planning is then you have like a set of expectations. And when something doesn't go the way that you're expecting it, I think that I've always sort of thought that like the Wendy's affect in that ISOM interview, she seems like so out of sorts in a sense, but
Right.
I don't know if you sense that same thing.
She oh man.
It just seems like she's kind of going through like a fog of war where
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that maybe she was thinking that she was going to be more like expressive or crying. I don't know. I don't
I
know.
think that she thought that she was only gonna have to call her mom. She had that scripted.
Yep.
And then I think she just can't stop talking, and she just keeps saying stupid stuff. And it shows because her emotions just go from one side to the other. She starts hyperventilating, then she's smiling, and it's like, yo, you are crazy. You know, like she's playing that role, but it's not good. I mean,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
I don't know how that whole interrogation interview, he didn't even Mirandize her. Nothing.
And she even asked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like part of the craziness is that she didn't ask any questions. She's a lawyer getting in a police car without if a policeman said get in my car and go somewhere, I'm gonna be like,
no thanks.
No, thank you. Am I being detained?
Yeah. I mean, and that's just like so common to all lawyers. I mean, it's how they're programmed, right?
Yeah, like you're my Uber to the police station. Like for what?
Yes.
And the fact that she didn't connect the when she drove to Trescott and saw the police tape and everything, she didn't vocally connect that to when he was picking her up, when he picked her up. So it's like I can't. She's someone I can't stand her, man. I really can't stand her. And she brings out so much creativity in me, but I swear I hate that woman.
Jay May had an interesting question here, and I don't know if we covered this, but do you remember what time Wendi texted Charlie, "This is so sweet"? I remember that text, but I don't remember the chronology of it.
I think "This is so sweet" was before 9:00.
Yeah.
And then she called Charlie at 9:12 for an 18-minute call.
Right. Yeah, because that was during the window when Robert Schwartz, the Geek Squad guy, was there, which and Markeith mentioned earlier that she was like trying to keep him there for as long as possible. I think that's true, but yeah, that whole I really hope that he shows up at Donna's trial, because I have so many things that I'm curious about with him. So just checking in the comments here. Wendi, it's Donna. Wendi, and somebody else mentioned earlier about how Roberta Glass does the Donna voice, and she just clowns on them mercilessly. I love Roberta too. I've been following her for a while. God, just all the footage of Donna is just kind of like leaps off the screen. She's like so expressive.
Yeah, and it really, well, Donna's not being coached on how to act in court. Even Charlie, that's how I knew his lawyer was trash. Your lawyer will tell. Hopefully, well, I can tell, but based on your profession, you've never been in this situation before. If you ever get in trouble and you're going to court, your lawyer is going to, if you have a good lawyer, to tell you how to handle yourself when things are happening. So if you're making faces and all that stuff, the judge sees that.
Yes, he does. Yeah,
and it's not a good look.
Yeah.
And Donna was like, all that? No. No.
I'm a unicorn. Mentioning this is one of my favorite weird things too, is in Wendy's interview, she accidentally said Monroe versus Mosaic. How significant did you think that was?
That was an awesome Freudian slip.
Yep.
Because I didn't know what Monroe meant. At the time when I first started watching this, I was like Monroe and then Mosaic, but she said Monroe for a reason. And then when
Yeah.
I found out that the Sigfredo and Luis stayed on Monroe at that one place, I'm like, oh,
Yep. It was
yeah,
parked right in front of her mind, I think, and
yep,
it was like just a word got close to it. And I
right.
think that's, yeah, that just seems, yeah. 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 Wendy might be listening from a pseudonymous account. You never know.
And
Um, go ahead.
that's why I did part 3 where I was talking directly to her.
Yes.
Everything that I saw, the words that I had about everything that she was saying on the stand, I felt like I had to direct it directly toward her. Like
Yeah.
it. Oh man, she's
And somebody else also highlighted earlier, that you had that quote that I also I had a note on, like Wendy's entitlement is the root of this case, and I think that kind of cuts pretty deep. I mean, I think that's like right on the money.
that's just what it is. Is that they feel that they can just go however they please, and I think that arrogance it just went way too far,
Mm.
and with and you can just see it in how they act even after the fact. But Wendy's arrogance is kind of toned down each trial, but it's
Yeah, she's trying to rein it in. I think YB's asking, is it off Monroe or the Hitman were saying, yeah, they were I think it was either KD1 or KD2. You would probably know the guy that was like their plug in town testified.
Shadrick Nobles.
Shadrick Nobles. Yeah, interesting witness.
Yeah.
Fascinating. What do you think? Have you done a deep dive on his testimony at all, or is that
No,
something you thought
I
about doing a
really
video on?
no, just from the testimony I watched, I could tell what they used him for in this equation, right? So
Yeah.
like when they got there, they needed some coke. They
Yep.
kind of noticed that. And I think that they befriended him in a sense that if they need something that they ordinarily couldn't get their hands on at that time, they could call him. So when they call, I mean, of course they're calling him for coke, but when the car broke down, they said they saw him, but it's like
Yeah, they probably called him, right?
I call him too. And
Yeah.
so it's
And
like,
just see him like twice. I mean, maybe, I guess, but
but I think that for some people, if they go out of town, they meet someone that's into certain things, that they can probably help them out with regular stuff too.
oh, great comment from Marianne Nizio. Always coming with the fire. In my humble opinion, Dawn Adelson picked Dan as a sperm donor for her grandchildren for Wendy Adelson. And that's such an interesting, it's like, I think one of the things that we're sort of talking back and forth about, like, is like one of the subtext of a lot of it is like, is this like Wendy or is this Donna that's a catalyst? And I think that like this highlights that there's some of it both. I think it's kind of unavoidable. Like Wendy had what she wanted and Donna what she wanted, and there was like a mutually exclusive path there for at least a
Yep.
while.
And one thing about that is how you said like each of their parts. When Jeffrey Lee Lacasse said that Wendy said that she tried to hire a hitman for $50,000. The $50,000 was Donna's part. Well, I mean Wendy's part. I mean from Wendy's perspective. So probably Donna paid the other half.
Oh, right. So you're saying it was really like 100K, but
Right.
each of them were going 50. Yeah, that would make sense. I mean,
Right.
because 50 does seem a little bit low, but in that context, that was just like what her piece of it was. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And one other thing, when Luis Rivera said that what I gathered that Wendy gave Sigfredo $5,000, right?
Yes.
So when she gave him that $5,000, I believe it was for a deposit, because I think Wendy and Charlie paid a deposit through Katie, and Katie pocketed it. So when Sigfredo and Luis came up there in June, they got that $5,000, and I believe that as such is because when they went back up there, Sigfredo gave Luis said, hold up, is that your screen or mine?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, what do you say? I'm just.
I just saw something said remind me. Okay, never mind.
Oh, okay. No,
Are you
I
there?
just.
Are you there? Hold up.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right.
You might have
Something
fuzzed
popped
out
up on my screen. So okay.
okay.
So So Luis said that Sigfredo got $5,000, had $2,000 in his pocket. Then he
Right.
said that he went when they went up the second time, Sigfredo gave him $500. And then
Right.
after the trip, when they actually got the money the following day, that Sigfredo gave him $2,000. So that $500 when they went there, and then $2,000 on the way back, $2,500. That's half of the $5,000 that Wendi gave them.
Yeah, that's pretty clean. Markeith with a,
I've seen Markeith too on some of the posts. Yeah.
yeah.
What's Markeith talking about? Okay, Dan Rushman Kutcher. Secret key or lesson.
Bitter gall. Yeah. Just a very evocative. I just like he just uses great language. I always appreciate a great zinger. Wendy is so unlikable. It's shocking that she charms people. I think that like one of the things that I always try to think about with cases like this is like we are looking at it from such a suggestive lens because we know so much. But like, I think if you put yourself back there, like let's say in like 2012, before all of this goes down, and Wendy's like, I don't know. I mean, I could see how she could be charming. And the thing that I always think of is like somebody said that like she's the kind of, I think it might have been Demko said that like she's the kind of person that says like, hey kids, you know, so she has like a certain kind of glib charm, I guess. I don't know.
I think she has that superficial sociopathic charm that she will mirror your or act like she's really just into who you are, but she's really not. It's just to just lower your guard. And then after that, someone like Dan Markel marries her, and then she's, you know, wild like that. And I think that Wendi, all right, this might sound crazy, but I believe that Wendi is someone that will be with a man for the appearance sake, just like Dan Markel. I liked his intellect and you know what he can do for her, just like he would be a good father for my children, not our children. You see what I mean? Like she has that. These guys are just props to her, but for appearance sake. And just like Jeffrey Lee Cash, she used him for a specific thing. She doesn't love these guys, but most women,
they're like handbags to her.
Women like Wendi are with these guys on the public in public, but they end up fetishizing street dudes like Sigfredo. You see what I mean? Like,
and that's probably why Wendi wanted to talk to him on some level too, just because it would have been thrilling, you know?
Right. And she's doing this nonprofit for like human trafficking. Maybe you're trying to be, I think that's like virtue signaling, trying to help these women out, but you're also getting to understand the dudes that run the show.
Yes.
Like women like her, like they gravitate, manipulative women like her gravitate towards street dudes because it gives that edge. It's just like, just how like Charlie talks about like, the Cuban criminal element, like scummy people like them that aren't really, they're not doing illegal stuff. They're just scumbags. But they want to be around the people doing illegal, like, you know.
Yeah. And it's
cool.
But the other thing about her too is I'm sure she like sometimes likes to be around Sigfredo types, and then, you know, she ping pongs back and forth a bit, I'm sure as well, you know.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, that whole OkCupid app thing that Jeff Lacasse was all flustered about, I guarantee you she's not doing anything off of OkCupid. She's probably on a whole other app, you know, like on you know, under a different name because she has a, you know, status at the school or whatever. But I guarantee you, once they have her phone records out in public, like all the other stuff, I guarantee you it's going to be a lot of Black and Latino men in that history that are in the street. I'm just telling you, I've seen plenty of Wendys around, yo. Like they really want to be, you know, make appearances, but then on the other side, they're doing all kinds of craziness.
And then they can tell all their girlfriends about the crazy time they had. And
like, like I can almost bet money on that. Like there's gonna be. And she says she speaks Spanish too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, she did. She's like, I spoke Spanish, so I ordered the paella. It's like, right, whatever. YB asking or mentioning the Botox factor. Is that something that you clued in on like a lot? Because I just know that it's something that I thought about like a number of different times, and I keep bringing it up. Is that something that you noticed at some point, or?
Um, I'm not really good at reading facial expressions.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
And
like
sure.
when she said so when like in my videos, if I like highlight something that she says and she just so happens to be making that face at the time, I'm more focused on what she says. I'm not really the best at seeing like how I find like I don't pay attention to how someone says it or how their face looks. I only care to pay attention to the words they use. So that Botox part, nah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. And I think that's, different sort of styles of like interpreting stuff, and so that's another thing that's really great about running a YouTube channel is like, people all bring their knowledge and experience and their own
Right.
lens to things, and so it's just it kind of like supercharges your content in a way when people start feeding you comments, because you get to you just see around corners that I wouldn't have seen around beforehand,
Right. And I like and I appreciate those type of comments because people will comment something on something that I actually took hours in editing, and they'll see something that even though I just played this thing 300 times to make an end product, I'll see something new about it, and the people that comment, and it helps me in figuring more. I get more ideas off of the things that they say.
Yeah. One thing I just wanted to touch on, since we're just past an hour here, is how are you thinking about time? Are you good still going, or how are you feeling
Yeah,
right
I'm
now,
good.
Grish?
I'm good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just paging through the comments because we've got a ton of good
Yeah,
ones,
yeah.
and so Matt here talking about how the ultimate high for Wendi was getting other people to kill for her. She got off on it. Any thoughts on that, Grish?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. Like her being around Sigfredo would be the ideal thing because she gravitates toward men that can help her. So it's like Dan, you
Yep.
can have kids and get some status, and then you can have Jeff. You could just play this role to try to antagonize Dan to flip out on her, and then you have
Yep.
someone like Sigfredo that will pull the ultimate gift for her in killing her husband. So why not? Why not be around him?
Yeah, and he does things that other people that are in her orbit can't do. So he's like a very yeah, that I can totally see that. Jay May with a question: didn't Garcia tell Katie the lady can come get the car when Sigfredo shot the gas line? Hitman knew Wendi was in tally. This proves your prior knowledge. Yeah, I believe you got into this in your stuff. Any thoughts on any response to that?
The lady can come get the car with Sigfredo. I thought that was when they had to return the car, but
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to think, but there was something like that. I do remember. I do know what I do. I am aware of this, but I at some point, I think it was Rivera maybe that said something about the lady, and it was like, I think it was something that you deconstructed in one of your videos, or at least it's in my recollection, because you're like, well, who else could the lady be? Because everybody else that's involved in the conspiracy, like Katie, they're all down in South Florida at the time. So I think
yeah,
that was sort of the loop there.
yeah, like Luis was not happy. I can tell that Luis was not happy with the whole compartmentalization being fucked up from the start. So
Yep.
when he said when he saw Wendi, he was like, does that lady know I'm in the car?
Yep.
You see what I mean? Is when he's saying that to Sigfredo, he's really saying, who does she know who I am?
Right.
Right? And he's just Sigfredo's like, oh no, she doesn't know. But Luis is smart. Like the thing about Luis, he can't read, but he can't read, but he can read people because
Yes.
he has to.
Yes.
He just get independent information from reading. So he has a natural ability of reading people.
Yeah.
And that's why Sigfredo brought him, because he can do all the counter surveillance and map. And Sigfredo's all violence. That's why he's not Latin King, because you can't be in a gang and I don't think Luis will allow him to be in a gang and then be what's the word?
He's not coachable.
Subordinate to other people that can tell him just to shoot whoever.
Yep.
But like Sigfredo, like Sigfredo knew enough to know I need someone to help guide me through this. And when
Mm.
he had Luis manage the whole thing, and Luis is not getting the whole picture of what's going on, he's really uneasy about it.
Yes. Yeah, and it was so interesting watching that footage of him doing his proffer with the
Yeah,
detectives, and it's like just because I've worked on like a ton of criminal cases, it's like I have some sort of familiarity with like the language of the streets, I guess one could call it, but it's like even I'm like, man, there's so many things this guy's saying that I
right,
don't quite understand the context of,
right. Like literally, he told you what the owl meant.
Yeah.
Like,
You want to expound on that? Because
okay, all right. Now that, all right. When when uh when Luis was asking Fredo about the lady, all that,
yeah,
right?
yep,
He also explained how he saw her, and I'm gonna fast forward to that a little part where when um when Katie said that she went to Charlie's house at the night of the murder, and Charlie answered the door with a gun in his hand. The reason why he answered the door with his gun in his hand is because Wendi has probably been already knowing their social medias, right? So when they drove, and shot Dan Markel, they turned. If you're facing the house, they turn left. When he hit the speed bump, he saw Wendi. And when he saw Wendi, later on, he went on Instagram and posted what he saw on her shirt so she could see it.
Oh, wow. It was like a
It was
wow.
a creepy crawly. So he's
Yep.
like, this is like, I see you, I know you who you are. I
I know
know that
exactly what you mean. Yep.
so I'm gonna fuck with you. I'm gonna post the owl because you wore an owl in your shirt.
Yeah. That's wild. So it
And
was like
so that when Katie
yeah.
called him, like, take that down, she took it down because the word got like it didn't. I highly doubt that it came from her looking at
Oh,
Instagram.
yeah, she wasn't like she didn't have like notifications turned on for all his posts or whatever. Like
There you
she probably
go.
heard about it from somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So 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 the word got like Wendy probably flipped out like, oh, I was there. That's how Charlie knows that she couldn't help herself and she had to go to the crime scene
Ah,
because Louise saw her there. When
ah,
they turn and hit the speed bump, there's a part where the two apartment buildings meet, and there's a path that goes right in between Geiger's house and another house in an open lot, and it's just little woods. That's why she wore a green shirt so she could camouflage. She wore khakis and a green shirt. She knew she was going to walk there and stand between the trees and watch that thing happen. That's why another reason why she
she
drove up
wanted to.
there is because she heard the gunshot. She saw them drive away, but from her vantage point, she can't see anything because it happened in the garage, but she can't walk up to the garage. So what
Right.
she does is she just goes back, gets in her car, goes home, switches phones, turns back around, and goes to Trescott. And that's when she runs into the tape. She wanted to see that it was actually done because she only heard the shots. But when she heard the shots and watched them drive away. He saw the owl and was like, all right, because he doesn't trust Fredo with what he's saying.
Right. So
So
he
and
wanted
then
it to,
also they didn't want to pay them immediately. They wanted the money. And he posted the
yeah.
owl like, you're going to give me this money, but Dan wasn't dead yet. So they waited another some more
Yeah.
time to wait for him to die so they can pay him.
Yeah, that end of it is really like that's just like such the timing of the payment, like where Katie leaves like the next morning. It's like
Yeah.
and there's so many details like that, but it's just like such a hard thing to like try to argue against. Matt asking a question of you. Can you do a montage of Wendi and her digs at Dan, starting with her interview or three testimonies in her disgusting podcast? Must be about 60 or 70 different digs in there. Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Like as far as like in a video showing like the different things she says about him.
Yeah, I mean
Um, I got a couple clips. Like there was some things that really bothered me when she said, when I think Georgia Cappleman accidentally said Dr. Markel instead of Dan Markel, and she's like, "Excuse me, Dr. Markel." Like, oh, you really better not give my man more credibility in life than what he went to school for. You know, what did they say about speaking Spanish fluently?
Oh, Maya just doesn't like that she speaks Spanish fluently. I can, yeah. I mean, yeah. Wendi just ruins everything she touches. Markeith referencing the "hungry like a wolf" thing. Yeah, Wendi is like so creepy with that. Like, I don't know what it is about her, but she just like sort of pegs the meter on that food association and just other things too. Yeah, she's so. One of the things I would
question for the chat: Does my description of how the owl thing happened, does that make sense to you guys from just me saying it? Because I'm gonna have it in my next video, but I just want to make sure that.
Yeah. Mel says that it was the first trip Rivera saw the owl, and I'm not sure of I don't have the chronology laid out in front of me, but yeah, I don't know.
That's that. I was just watching that whole interrogation earlier today. Like he really was. When he was talking about the first trip, Detective Isom brought up the whole owl Instagram post.
Oh, so you think that like because like one of the things that I've noticed about Luis is like he is like it seems like he's very eager to accept the premises of like Georgia or Isom in some of those interviews. And it seems like there's like a language barrier, like I kind of referenced earlier. Do you think that he just that might have gotten mixed up, like the whole Wendy's blog thing, or what are you thinking there?
Well, when he said like the blog was Wendi, he didn't know. I don't think he really knew what a blog was.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and some people said the blonde, like no, like she said a blog. Did you get the how did exactly? Did you get the information about Dan Markel's whereabouts from a blog? He said. Yeah. Well, what's the name of the blog? The blog was Wendi.
Right.
So he had to miss. I don't think it's a language barrier. It's the fact that this man doesn't read.
Exactly. And I think he was just sort of assuming the context of the word or something like that. And the other thing that like I wanted to make something about that, like put it in a video or maybe make a short about it, because what I noticed about it too is if you back up and watch the stuff immediately preceding it, it was like there was an objection right before it too. And then, Georgia didn't quite set up the question again correctly, so it was very confusing because there was a spoken objection right beforehand, and that, you just kind of got tangled up, I think. And so I think that that's sort of what was going on. There's just, it was just confusing.
I think that Luis in his proffer, Luis he's a street 100%. This man is as gangster as someone can get. I'm telling you, I could tell by the way he described the shooting that these people have most likely done this before.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he's talking about things in a street way. And when I mean street is not a slang. It's not a completely different language. When people talk in like how criminals talk, it's like an aggregate of subtle references. Okay, so based on who you're around, you can reference something, how something happened, but someone that's really about that can know exactly what you're talking about. But he talks like that, and he's trying to use civilian terminology, but it's going right over their heads.
Yeah.
So when he said that, like just for example, when he described shooting Dan Markel, the direction that he went toward the house, whereas the house, Dan Markel's house is on the left, they were facing him. They followed him, but went around him. So when he got to his driveway, they were facing him. When he turned in his driveway, Sigfredo got out the car and went up against the house. So when Luis went behind the house, Dan Markel's on the phone and he says, "There's one person that I don't know in my driveway." He saw one person. He saw Luis in the car, but as he's looking in his rear view, he's paying attention to the car. But Sigfredo's walking up against the garage. Gets the cue from Luis And he
Fuck,
goes
it's
in
like
there
the
and he sneaks up right up on him and gets him. And no one's gonna even talk about how gangster these dudes are to wear dress clothes to do a murder. Come on.
yeah, and it's like this. It's like it's like the raptor scene out of Jurassic Park, where like the one on the flank like distracts him while the other
Yep.
one gets him. You know?
Exactly. Like these dudes are, man,
Yes.
I really wish that these dudes, and I think Luis knows this. Like, it wasn't like he knows what he like in his heart. I think like he's not like a psychopath. He doesn't feel anything. I think he, for what he's used to doing, which is drugs and like robbing drug dealers, he's just involved in street stuff. So affecting a civilian is it's not what he's supposed to do.
Yep.
It's just not what he's supposed to do, and that ate away at him.
Yep.
And
Yeah, dude's got a heart, but he's just been through like so much. I mean, I can just see it in his eyes, man. You know?
yeah, and the other part, and I know it bothers him too, is for snitching on his friend.
Yep. He did
And
not like that, but he had to do it because Sigfredo was out of pocket, you know?
no, you all right.
You don't think so?
It,
Feel free to clean that up. I'm just started
as
talking here.
much as it benefited the case, for someone you're not all right. This is what snitching is, okay?
Yeah.
A snitch is someone who made the decision to break the law for their personal benefit and then chooses to assist those who enforce the law for their personal benefit. That's what a snitch is. A regular person calling the police or something, that's not a snitch. It's
Yep.
someone who made the decision
Yep.
to benefit off breaking the law. You can't assist those who enforce the law for your benefit at the same time. That's what snitching is. It's cut and dry. And to be snitched on or snitching is the worst betrayal. It is.
Yeah.
And so to betray his friend and then like have to be up there in front of his friend and to say all that, it's got to eat away at him.
Mm. Yeah, Marianne, just letting I think she's responding to our earlier things. She said that the whole thing made sense to her, so that's good. And also Maya, also doubling on that confirmation.
Thank you, Maya.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
got some more comments here in the owl. The owl was on the second trip. I thought, well, but I think that it was interesting. I'm glad that we had that conversation about it, because I always like comments that like ask interesting questions like that, because I do think that there may be some moving parts there that are hard to see because of the issues that I was talking about with Luis. And yeah, I think
Moving
some of the
parts
stuff
in terms of what?
Oh, just that there's just, like you said, so much stuff going over the heads of the
Yeah.
detectives interrogating him, and like he was trying to address them in their language, and so there, in doing so, there's just going to be something lost in that,
Right.
you know.
They were asking, and that's why I think some people think that he's talking about the first trip as far as the owl. Like he was talking about the first trip, but Detective Isom just had a random question, and that took place on the second trip.
Yep.
So they kept asking him questions about different things, and it's just like he just gets frustrated. And I think he just sometimes like, yeah, but he really broke down the whole owl thing. He didn't say exactly why he did it.
Yeah.
But he posted the owl. They didn't ask him why he posted the owl. They said, Detective Isom said, you saw a barn owl or something like that in the parking lot. He was just like, yeah. He just gave up. He probably took that off Google Images and just, and posted it. And they could have got more information out of him if they just asked the right questions, but they don't really know the right questions. But he's giving them the whole game right there.
Yeah. Markeef also chiming in to say that it makes sense to him. It's a remarkable coincidence. And one thing I wanted to pick up on before I forget is Mel, like, don't apologize for, I mean, like, I always appreciate a good countervailing point, and it's great for discussion. So please, like, if you see anything that you think is inaccurate, please speak up, because I'm always interested to hear. I'm always about falsifying. I'm trying to always falsify everything. So
yeah, and then I'll tell you one thing. Leo and I are not people that just can't stand being wrong. If I think Leo can attest to this. If I'm wrong about something, let me know.
Yeah.
I want to find
Please.
out what's right.
Yep.
I'm not. My pride is not.
Yep.
You know.
And I think that is like the sign of a healthy intellect in so many ways, because you want it speaks to an underlying curiosity about the world. And that's one thing that I see like reflected in a negative sense in the Adelsons is like, they just do not have that, in their DNA.
No,
Yeah.
they don't. And they don't. And not only that, they have zero empathy. And it's really, it really got to me when I was listening to I call it the Donologue, right? When she was on the phone and on the jail call, and she's just yapping and yapping, and she said something. It might have not been that exact call, but they asked how Ben and Lincoln were reacting, and I think Donna said that Wendi said that they were just quiet. They didn't ask him how they felt.
Mm.
And that's sick. Like, they're quiet, but why are they quiet? Because they know you cannot just fall on your sword and admit you're wrong ever. Like, what is she telling these kids the past 10 years? That's the shit I care about. Like, what are you telling them?
Mm.
For them
I'm sorry,
they have access to Google, they know what's going on, and they just don't say anything because it's like someone like her just can't accept.
Yeah. It's like, what can you say to a Wendi,
Right.
Meet Yo asking you to please make a video with Luis Rivera and Wendi and the owl thing. And I think, like you said, I think it's probably going to be in a future video. It sounds like.
Yeah, it is. It is. I have it all broken down with the map, exactly where Wendi would be, and the vantage point, the field of vision from where she was standing. Like, I know it sounds like very left field, and no one's really talked about where Wendi was when the actual murder took place.
Yeah.
Never asked about it or anything because they know exactly where she was.
Yep.
When it happened. They know this, and so they didn't bring it up and have her all nervous about it. They just skipped over from 10 o'clock till 12:30. You noticed that, right?
Oh, that's so revealing. I did not, but that is.
Yeah. So a lot of things that would be very revealing as far as June 3rd. They only have the call records from June 2nd and June 4th, but they don't say anything about June 3rd.
Oh my God.
You don't, and they ask her questions about the text she was getting at 8:15 a.m. from Donna and all that, but the questions about her whereabouts from 10 o'clock till 12:30, there are none.
That is wild. It's such a struggle, Grish, at times to see like what is right in front of our faces,
Yeah.
And that is just and Mel picking up on our earlier discussion saying Georgia says Prof's blog to Rivera and his reaction was confusing. And I think that's like another thing that like made it additionally confusing is like the weird spelling and just I don't know. There's just so many things about that were just so easy for him to trip over it. So I don't fault him.
And the thing about Luis, he wanted to know the least about this person. That's the goal. And he should see Sigfredo as wanting to be the same, to not know anything. This is why he said we should just rob her.
Yep.
The reason why he said that is because he feels that Sigfredo has gotten close with them too much, where he knows too much information. And the thing is, if she knows who he is, they can't rob her because she could call the police. So when Sigfredo didn't want to rob her, he knew that she has a one-on-one relationship with him. And the problem is that he's not supposed to. The wall dividing them is supposed to be Katie. It's just to be Sigfredo to Katie, Katie to Charlie. But in reality, it's Sigfredo and Wendi have been talking the whole time. This is why when you see like if you look at the June 4th call log, the beginning of June 4th starts with a 40-minute, then another 40-minute call between Charlie and Katie. the people that need the most information and supply the most information are Sigfredo and Wendi. They're doing the least amount of talking. The two people doing the most talking, Katie and Charlie, because they're talking about the other people that aren't telling them anything, and they don't know what's going on.
Damn.
This is why they think they're going to get away with it, because they were cut out of it so early on that they thought, oh, I'm not really involved in this.
Holy fuck. This is insane. This is like the greatest live stream ever. I don't care what anybody says. DJH, read the owl. So it's Luis throwing one across Wendy's bow. Wow. Yeah. I think that's the gist of it. Yeah. I mean, I think he's basically yeah, it's a message, a one-way message, I think, basically.
And if you hear Luis, he says, oh, that's her name. When he talks about, when he says that's Wendi. And when he said Sigfredo was like, oh, that's the lady, that's Wendi, he's like, oh, that's her name. What he's really saying is, I know her name, and because I need to know her name because she already knows mine. So,
right.
What was the other part I was about to say about that? He already saw her because he would, when at the dinner when Jeff Lacasse and all them were there,
yeah,
Luis and Sigfredo were there too. Luis drove there.
Yeah, right. And I think you did you touch on that at all in the series? I think you did. It's all sort of
yeah.
I'm
like
operating.
That was it was to describe like how that dinner came about, and it's really, if Katie's taking money that's supposed to go to Sigfredo,
yes,
and you go to and Wendi contacts Sigfredo like, look, you're supposed to do something. I gave her X amount of money. He can't just take that information and just take it at face value. He makes her follow certain rules and or makes her do certain things to prove that. And it's like, just do this. And he watches. Like, this stuff happens. Like, it was so wild to me how Katie was describing the whole talking about expenses.
Yeah.
It's like, there are no expenses in crime, right?
Yeah.
There's no let me
we don't have a petty cash account.
You're not an outside sales rep for Procter and Gamble, like it's not what you are. Like, you're paying for the hotel and the commute. You might as well pay for the gun too. Like, that's an expense. Like, she didn't understand that she was literally being walked into a trap to see if she's stealing money. And no, people don't get to survive to tell that story.
Yeah, and it's like it's something that makes a lot of sense if you have any sort of familiarity with the way that those sort of like black market supply lines work. Like, that kind of stuff happens all the time where you're testing out like the plug, or testing out like the hookup to the plug, and like that kind of shit is just like it's part of the whole game. And so the way that you sort of track that,
it's just what happens. Like, people get greedy, people do shady things, and like, I don't think a lot of people understand that there are rules for people who break rules. There's a whole nother set of rules for you. and they're very simple, but there's no orientation. There's no
manual. There's
no employee manual. You just, but the Adelsons went straight to the NBA with it.
Yes. They went into deep waters. Markeith asking
deep water.
Markeith
some weed or something first.
I know. I'm with you. I'm right there. Markeith asking if you think Geek Squad guy Robert Swartz could testify to the house being in a state of being packed up, and that's something I've wondered about a number of different people that might have been around the house. Any thoughts on that?
I do, and I think that they got that in the bag, and I also think with Geek Squad they would probably have to take a photo of the damaged TV to show like they're just going to replace this.
Yeah.
They take pictures of stuff before and after.
Yeah. And I would love to, like, one of the things I've been meaning to do because I have like a note that I need to research this more. And like, one of the things I want to find out for sure is like what exact model of television it was. Cause I just am so curious about that. Have you tried to find anything out of it? I don't know if that's even possible. There might not be publicly available info on that.
I thought about actually contacting Swartz about that. Like,
yeah.
But I just, what am I gonna say?
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to, like, I almost wanted I was really thinking about contacting Yindra also. But I was
Yeah.
I was like, I just think like I really want to know, but I think we will end up finding out. And just like
Yep.
uh uh Grant's mom said, do you think Luis would testify at Wendy's trial? Absolutely.
Mm.
And just like Luis would testify, I think Schwartz will testify, had the pictures and everything.
Mm. Yeah, I'm
Being packed up. Yeah, I think yeah, definitely.
yeah, we've got a ton of comments here. How you doing? We're about an hour and a half in. Are you getting a little tiny hoarse? How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, cool, great. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of pluck through some of the comments because we've got so many great ones. Matt has a comment about the FBI not tapping everybody's phone except for Wendy's. Huh? So Matt thinks they have hundreds of hours of Wendy's phone calls. Georgia has them. What do you think about that?
As Shadrach Nobles will say, believe it.
Yeah, he was such a colorful witness compared to, like, he just had just the way that his whole vibe just sounds
Yeah,
like
he
a
was
cool guy.
definitely didn't want to be up there. You can tell,
No.
like he's already like also like because he sold him coke. He's also
Yeah.
like has to adhere to the code of him being up there. He's probably gotten some shit from it like personally, but it's like what else is he gonna do? Like he just took him to he sold him a couple 40 bags, and
Yeah.
but they were out there killing people.
Now all of a sudden he's part of this crazy murder trial. I mean, can you
Right,
imagine?
right.
LW Grant's mom talking about how she thinks, or they think that that Luis didn't want to kill Dan in front of the kids. I think that's who they're referring to there. And I'm sure that has to be true because
Yeah.
they just don't want the heat on them. Really, is a big part of it, right? I mean,
Well, the thing is like if there's one thing that like killing someone in front of a child is frowned upon, okay? And also anything, if you get caught up in anything, you do not want a child involved, okay?
yeah, yeah,
Immediately you're done. You're
yep.
done. So if
In prison, yeah.
right, and it's still like if they got caught up and the children there, it's still a child endangerment and all this other stuff that'll come up there. And once you go to jail and they see that paperwork, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, it's over." So and also it's just not as it's just wrong. You just don't do that.
Yeah, it just makes you like radioactive once you get into prison. Like nobody likes people that mess with kids. Marianne Nizio asking, why isn't Luis on the Latin Kings hit list? Well, Luis is a Latin King, right? Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe she's asking like if he did anything that could put him in disfavor because he snitched. I guess that's probably what she's asking, right? Yeah.
It could possibly, but
Yeah.
the person above him snitched on him.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'm sure that he probably had to check with people about it. I'm sure. I don't know. What do you think?
and also he's in the feds, right? And
Yeah.
federal cases almost always have informants.
Yeah.
Almost always, like you'll see like confidential CI or cooperating defendant CD. These are all people that were doing whatever, and they got caught up, and then they rolled on people. The feds feds have snitches because that's how the feds build their cases through informants and people that have rolled on other people. So I think he's in with other people that have some, they're not. I'm not saying everyone in the feds is a snitch, but there's so many snitches in the feds.
Yeah. Yeah, jailhouse informants especially are like such a dangerous thing, and it's like even like especially if you're pre-trial, like a lot of times you'll be coached as if you're waiting trial to like not talk to anybody for this exact reason, and it comes up again and again, where especially like false convictions, there's always like a jailhouse snitch somehow
Right.
in there. Matt Tormina has a question. Don't you think it's strange that we've heard everybody's phone calls except Wendy's? Not even one, not one of even Charlie talking to Wendy. And I guess Matt thinks that Georgia has them.
Yeah, I don't think it's strange because she's not on trial.
Right.
It's not going to do anything to help. It would put evidence in front of a defense lawyer for someone else that could help their case. In addition to that, she's Wendy's not on trial, so her all those details, the FBI and this is a federal case. Let me just tell you that it's
Yeah.
it's being prosecuted by the state, but it's being investigated by the feds. And the feds have done their due diligence, if they're not still doing it, and they're spoon feeding the evidence to Georgia Cappleman. They're not giving her everything.
Yeah.
They're giving her what she needs to get this specific case done and that specific case done.
And the other thing that, like, when you work on a lot of these cases, like, we've already highlighted here a couple times how there's like a lot of interrelated cases. And so sometimes there can be like a web of cases where there'll be another case that's involved, and that might be why they're not releasing stuff. So there could be just like tons of other factors that like we can't even anticipate. J May has a question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just like how I told you about the Allen guy.
Yep.
He's ad litem, Leon County, Tallahassee, on Wendy's payroll. So in 2019, and then took him off in January 2020. So she knows what she was doing. So that's why they can't give Georgia Cappleman and all that their information, because you don't think that Alan Abramovich guy doesn't have the same access to what Georgia Cappleman has.
Yep.
If he's not going to be a judge, you can at least like help her out with some info. I mean, he's being paid by Wendi. He got paid by Wendi. I have it in PDF format. It's not me talking out the side of my neck. Like, that's why the feds are on this, because this is obviously corruption.
Yeah, there's an element of influence peddling that I think we've sort of seen a little bit, like the edges of it, but who knows where else it leads, and yeah, and that's one thing I was just thinking about is like the money end of this thing, like as I mentioned in one of my videos, like the first thing Charlie thought about was that it was the IRS for the bump, so it just has always led me to wonder like whether or not there's more coming in terms of like another prosecution for, tax evasion type stuff.
Yeah, that's why all these people have financial crimes lawyers.
Yes. And that was it's like so obvious, but it's like I didn't sort of like, just when you sort of marinated on it for a second, you're like, oh my God, like that is so significant. And it's like they're probably not even like, they probably realize that their goose is kind of cooked on the murder, I guess, maybe one way of looking at it. And they're like, well, we just want to have our guy. J May thinks that Wendi set up her family, doesn't care, kept her hands clean. And that's such an interesting conversation that goes on a lot on Reddit. Where do you fall on that? Do you think that, I guess we already sort of talked about how she freelanced a little bit, but do you think that was a plan?
I think part of it was to make it so if things came toward the Adelsons, they would go.
Right.
So she has the
like an insurance policy sort of.
Right, exactly. So she strategizes everything she's been doing as far as the nonprofits with all that money, and she's using that to get closer to Leon County officials. Andrew Gillum going in to try to be the governor to maybe appoint her friend. You see that Wendy's very calculated, and I know everyone's saying she's smart and everything, but I don't think Wendi really thought out what it takes to really cover your tracks. I'm finding I just know where to look. And if I know where to look, someone with a badge knows where to look with all the US government resources. So they got a lot on her. She just doesn't, next. Sorry.
No, I can't wait. I'm so like fired up for Donna's trial and to see what happens. I feel like we're gonna get some great surprises.
Are you gonna go there?
I don't know. I've been really thinking about it. Like, it's in this fall, so it's like an off time up here in Alaska. It's like we're not in the legislature's just ending right now, so like I kind of can't really think beyond like the next couple weeks because my life is like so crazy. It's like. But like after that, I'm definitely going to sit down and think about it. Matt has another question about the boys asked Wendi where Uncle Charlie and Grandma are. She told the boys her lawyers advised her not to talk about the case with anyone in the family. Oh, I think that might just be a joke. Sorry, I'm a little punchy, so sometimes the dry humor is just gonna. I appreciate your enthusiasm, L.W. Grant's mom. Hopefully, I'm getting that correctly. Grisch, who are you? How are you so insightful about that stuff? I've been asking myself that same question for weeks, Maya. The most interesting man, Gary R. says. QQQ from LW Grant's mom. Do you think Luis will testify at Wendy's trial? Probably pretty high likelihood. What do you think, Grish?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I
I
think,
mean, he's been at all three, right? So,
yeah, he's been at all three, but like, I really think when he, yeah, I really, well, they may know what the owl means, okay? If, well, if they see this, they'll know what it means. If they ask him about that, that will cook Wendy. That will cook her. It's like I mean, it's just obvious. I saw you with that shirt on, and I want to make sure I get my money, and you're not gonna fuck with me. So I'm gonna post this knowing that you watch my Instagram, and you're gonna panic. You're gonna answer. Your brother's gonna answer the phone with the gun in his hand, and I'm gonna know I got y'all. That's
it was
the way
kind of like it just kind of shows like the chutzpah of the Adelsons in the first place to delay payment at all. I
right.
mean, why would you want to fuck with those guys? Holy heck,
You don't want that. And
no.
and yeah, he has to testify on that. That's just the way. There's no other reason that's what the owl is. And Wendy will. I don't think Wendy will take the stand in her own defense. But
that would be interesting. But yeah, Jay May has an interesting question that I actually had thought about earlier in the stream. He mentions the prosecutor's been silent about the Geek Squad guy, and that there was a false rumor that he died, which I had heard on Reddit or something, and they've kept that witness in pocket. I'm sure you've heard that too. What do you make of that?
Well, of the rumor?
Yeah, the rumor that the Geek Squad died. I mean, do you think that like that was something that the Adelsons might have started, or was it just like some random thing? Or I don't
think
know.
it might be a random thing because we didn't see him in trial.
Yeah,
I think people just will
just
filled
in the gaps. Yeah. That's anything about that whole section of the case, just my curiosity is just tingling. You know, it's I'm a unicorn. You could see Luis's mind working. He's a boss for a reason. Did not see that with Katie and Sigfredo. Yeah.
No.
One thing that I want to mention about Sigfredo to get your take on it is he's been kind of like mute. Like we really haven't heard anything from his own voice, unless I'm mistaken. And that sort of makes it so that people, I think, project their own thing onto him a lot. Like, I don't know. Do you have much of a read on Sigfredo?
I think Sigfredo, as far as like him being not talking, is because he's keeping it he's sticking to the code. You don't talk. You just get a lawyer and you stick it out. That's the way it's supposed to go. And that's what it is with him.
Yep.
He's not playing. And so and plus, like I said, like snitching is hurt. It hurts. it really like hurts to have someone do that to you. And so when you decide to cross over and do something out of bounds, you know what comes with it. Lawyer up and shut up. That's just the way it goes.
Oh shit! Noble Shudrick Nobles is on YouTube.
Yeah,
how am I not subscribed?
He's posted a couple shorts at his job with his
oh nice
construction.
I gotta check that out. I gotta turn notifications on because I'm so interested in that guy. Yeah, that's interesting. Grisch is the goat. I agree. Oh, double goated. Maya concurs.
Thank you, Maya.
Yeah, this has been so fun. Isn't it like a wormhole? It's like you just get plugged in. It's like those old like 90s movies where like the internet was first coming around and people would like jack into the wormhole.
Yeah. I remember those days.
I'm a unicorn. He's trying to stay in a Fed facility and not come back to the Florida prison system. Will that work out for him? It's referring to Charlie here, I believe, right?
It might work out for him, but I don't know. I mean, it really could, but I think because he might have problems in the state system, you know, for the extra 7. Because in the feds, in some states, you can get charged with street charges in prison, so you can get in a fight and get charged as if you were outside and get more time,
right?
You know, and or you get found with a weapon or things like that. So I think in the effort to protect himself in jail could land him more time, and the likelihood of something happening in the state prison, I believe, is higher.
Yeah, God, there's just like so many interesting questions about like what is going on there. And I think the fact that like we only get like little snippets makes it so it's almost like we're like criminologists here, like trying to find out like what's like are they moving the furniture in the Russian consulate? Like any scrap of information we can find out. Like we just want everything. Gary R. Grisch is the poet philosopher of this case. Yeah, I mean that's a great sentiment. The influence peddling started with Harvey. Thinks.
The influence peddling as far as what?
Well, just I guess maybe she's referring to like Harvey. I think maybe was the one that had the relationship with, was it Megs or somebody else? Or no,
Yeah,
it was.
that's possible. That's very possible. I think they use their influence by like contacting people that that could have influence, and I think it most likely did start with Harvey. I think Charlie's attorney called Detective Isom at some point. There's been documented lines of communication, and it's like obviously they know people, but I can't prove the Willie Meggs thing. But
Right.
I know that he's been like just being very dismissive about the Adelson's involvement, and but him announcing his retirement and then not seeking reelection, I kind of that kind of was it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. LW Grant's mom would like to see Wendi get arrested on the courthouse steps after giving her testimony at Donna's trial. Or I guess that's a
Me,
question. I mean, that would be.
me too, but I really think that there's a good chance of Wendy being arrested by the FBI and not the local.
Oh, and do you think just based on like them maybe doing like a some sort of like RICO conspiracy, or like what are you thinking? Like
I don't
just
know if I
not nothing specific, or just in general?
I think she's just when I come up with my video, you'll see the whole visual to see the
Yeah.
relationships and everything.
Fuck, I
But
can't wait, man.
but if you have someone that's clearly got a Leon County court appointed person on your payroll, I highly doubt the state of the feds will let you prosecute. It's just come on now. And plus all that other different like nonprofits. I think she started. I had paperwork on two of them,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
I
it'd be
had to
something
see
to check,
her. She
like the nonprofit. Sorry, go ahead.
she hasn't. She have you heard her try a case once?
No, I have.
No, she just went to law school. She doesn't do lawyer stuff.
Yeah, I know. She at one point she said something like that seemed like it was like coached, where she said like I'm trained as a lawyer or something like that. Crystal Blue 22, Grish, I love your channel. Are you positive Wendi will be brought to trial?
Yeah, but I really think it'll be the feds, and the feds in most cases don't allow cameras in the court, and so we won't have so much entertainment seeing her getting cooked. But I mean, I hope we can still keep it in Leon County.
Yeah, got another
But
question here
she's going down, like definitely.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time, and I think that I'm sure that like all of the players, the law enforcement players, are probably thinking a lot about timing, like in terms of like, should we take her in before Donna's trial just to make sure she doesn't get out of pocket, or
I think they probably have her on a no-fly list and all that.
yeah,
But
got to.
and what did Matt say? He said, "Will Harvey be forced to testify in Donna's trial?"
I don't think he can be because
can't
they're
buy-
married.
You can't testify against a spouse if you don't.
Yeah, there's usually laws about that. I don't know about Florida's laws specifically, but I know that there's usually an exception for that. I don't know that he could be. Well, I don't. Florida has weird immunity laws, so it's hard to say without being an attorney. Maya on Shodrick on YouTube, and I watched a video he made that made me laugh for days. I'm right after the stream, I'm gonna fire up Shodrick's YouTube, or I don't know, at some point, because he just was like a super entertaining guy,
Yeah,
and
I
I loved his vibe,
Yeah.
So and J May, I agreeing with Gary R. She got all she wanted, got rid of Dan, got rid of controlling Donna, sole beneficiary of whatever bucks the Adelsons have left. She doesn't care if about her jailed family, and I mean it's hard, really hard to argue against that,
And also Wendy had joint accounts with her parents.
Yeah.
Same with Charlie. They're enmeshed to the brim. I mean, come on. We got a joint
Mm.
account with your mom and everything. But yeah, but she has access to their money. She's always had it.
Oh, so Marianne Nizio's talking about how Harvey was friends with Wendy's. Oh, yeah, the Godfather. Wendy's Godfather. Weinstein was a state senator. So
Oh
yeah,
wow.
that's definitely an important
Yeah,
relationship.
that is.
Gary R. The dentists, Adelson, weren't trying to stiff anyone. They were just used to paying net 60.
Oh, wait, listen to this. Just in light of what Gary just said,
That's
that
so
Allen,
funny, Gary.
yeah, that's good.
That's a good one, man.
That
Might have to
that
steal that.
the
Sorry.
what is his name? The Allen guy that I talked to you about.
Yeah, yeah.
He got I found an article on him in which he was supposed to the state funds to pay dentists or something like that, and he didn't pay him like $500,000.
Right.
That's just another connection, like dentistry, ad litem stuff for helping kids get their teeth fixed. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So who knows how deep this runs, but that's what I can find just Googling.
Yeah, Harvey greased all the wheels, got Charlie through dental school, political friends, got Wendy a job. Greasy Harvey,
Yeah,
JMA. What a great nickname.
yeah, Greasy Harvey. I like that. I think Harvey, I don't think Harvey was really at the beginning of the whole conspiracy, but he definitely seems like the person to try to make things happen after the fact. Just like how Charlie can't get through school and when he needs a job, things like that. It's like, I don't think Harvey, like, the idea came from him, and I don't think he was particularly directly involved because I think Donna just really runs the show.
Yeah.
Harvey's just there.
Mm. What do you think he's up to these days? I mean, what's his daily day-to-day like, do you think?
I thought about that. I wonder if he just sits at home and is probably relieved that
watches Fox News.
You know, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what he watches. I'm just throwing it out
He
there.
probably just sits at that apartment and is just like, man, this is not what I thought empty nesting would be like.
Yeah, it's like,
really,
what does he fill his day with, you know?
By himself.
Yeah. Andy McGee with a great hashtag arrest Wendy 2024. That's a slogan I can get behind. Yeah, Maya agreeing on Harvey. Yeah, that is one of the most interesting breadcrumb trails to follow, I think, is like what is being held back, what the whole sequencing is going to be.
It's because they're just going, like, the feds take their time and they've done their due diligence. And I think there's a huge paper trail with whatever Wendy's been doing with that money.
Yeah, I mean,
like, she's really trying to cover her tracks, but when you cover your tracks too much for whatever you're doing, that's what stands out. And I think that they just got to get everybody one by one. And
just like the conspiracy, it's like a, what do you call it, like the train car style. Maya says we really can't wait for the next Grisch video to drop. I can't either, and I would just at this point suggest that you guys turn notifications on for Grisch's channel, because I am looking forward to seeing where it goes. Maya with another comment about how they're scared and they got smacked down by that asshole in the beginning. Yeah, I'm sure law enforcement has to be kind of confused about which way is up with this case, or at least, must have been earlier for sure. Yeah.
Like Willie Meggs definitely, I think he really helped in getting the feds involved, because I think that Detective Isom wanted to arrest Adelson's, but Willie Meggs, he was just saying it was speculation. And I think after a while you'll and there are other cases where the DA and the law enforcement aren't seeing eye to eye, and it's like, we have all this information, they'll call the feds and just get the job done. It's just like what they got the mass what was the bus videos, all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
those subpoenas were by the feds. That was not a TPD operation.
Oh, so that's why they even thought of it, because the locals probably wouldn't even have thought of that kind of stuff.
Well, they might.
Well, maybe they would have. Yeah, they probably would have.
But I think that the feds are did.
Yeah, they don't play around. Yeah.
And it's because they also had information on Katie Magbanua from, I think, part of the Latin Kings RICO, because they watch. It's not like there's a whole a roster of who's in the gang, But if you're around people,
yep,
and they're gonna look like, oh, this girl is getting all this money,
she'd be such a prize for like
Yeah,
anybody that's like trying to gather intelligence, because first of all, she's like a really good dangle. Like she, you bump her in a lot of different ways, like by talking about the murder, or just and the other thing is that she's not super sophisticated, so she
no,
probably she's probably leaky in terms of like it would be, yeah, she just would be somebody that you would obviously think to target for a number of different reasons, because she has vulnerabilities as a and she's just somebody. Yeah,
she would be the likely target because that's why they targeted her in the beginning when they first just when after Sigfredo got arrested. She made that call to like Sigfredo's lawyer, and he was saying like, "Yeah, your name's in the news and all that." She didn't know what to do, and
mm,
they want her to cooperate because she can. If she gives all the information as she should, that would have helped a whole lot. But she didn't want to go that route, and the thing is when the feds investigate someone, like say it's a group of people that are all like really seasoned criminals, they're not going straight to them. They're going to the people around them. The 1 foot, we call it 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So it's like if you're adjacent, you're around, but you're not really doing anything.
yep.
You might have a new friend come around and just read you a whole bunch of compliments, and next you know they're just
Yep.
they gradually infiltrate. That's how they work.
Yeah, and like the other thing too is like if you're sort of such a layup like she is, and like they already know about you and that kind of stuff, that just means it's like less work for them. I mean,
Right.
since she's already a known entity, it's just a natural for them. It's just it's just a path of least resistance.
Yeah.
J May on Georgia used Charlie's trial to out Donna. Interesting. She'll likely use Donna's trial to out Wendi and then
Mm.
arrest her. Yeah, that is a really interesting point, J May, and I think that's yeah, that rings very true to me. Oh, Leslie earlier was asking if it was cutting out. I haven't heard anyone else mention it in the chat, but we'll monitor that. Thanks for letting us know, Leslie.
Definitely.
Wendy is the rotten tooth they got to pull. Or does anyone else think Wendy signs her name with a heart above the eye? She probably did in middle school. But yeah. Yeah. So I was just thinking about kind of just going 2 hours, so we're getting close here, because I just don't want to overdo it. I tend to kind of do that sometimes, where I like get into the thing and then I don't want to do like a 5-hour stream and like burn you out or anything like that. But was there anything you wanted to?
Streams? I don't think.
Yeah,
I was like
yeah,
sitting there for
it's too
5
much.
hours. Like,
Yeah, but was there anything that you like wanted to touch on, or I just because I just wanted to check in with you as we're closing in on the 2-hour mark.
yeah, let me think.
Sure. Yeah, like
We pretty
I'll
much
pack through some
got
comments. Yeah.
a lot of it without even going through the videos. Like,
Yeah, we played like 1 minute of video, which is fine,
right.
and we can. It's something we can pick up later. It's just
Yeah.
like you just kind of want to have an idea prepared in the back pocket. And I kind of thought that it would go in a very interesting directly really quickly, and that's exactly what happened. So
And
yeah,
plus, like with everyone's questions, this is
yeah.
came here
The
for.
chat was just so off. It was so
Yeah,
good tonight that like
it
yeah,
really
it was
good.
just
And this is like my first live stream. I've never done this before at all. Like I was
yeah.
kind of
DJH,
nervous at first. I
what a
was,
great compliment. Yeah, as amazing as Grisch is, you have impressive ability to keep things on point. Very cool chemistry. Yeah, and it's just this is just a starting point. So I'm just fascinated to see where it goes, and I actually would love to see, you do like a live with Noah or just other things. I mean, we have tons of time in between now and September, so I just want to get some reps in. That's kind of the idea here.
like,
So
there's a lot of like good YouTubers that cover this case.
yeah,
I just think like it just some of them it almost seems like it's they're not talking about anything new.
mm,
And I'm just being honest.
sure,
Like,
yeah,
I watch everybody.
yep.
And
I know what you mean for sure. No,
yeah,
I think
there's certain people that have really large audiences, and I'm not just talking about the people that talk about like the Adelson case, but like there's certain like true crime content creators, and they hop on a case and they get a few 100,000 views, and that's all good. But if you can't pronounce Magbanua, how am I supposed to think you really know what you're talking about with this case?
yeah,
And it's I like when people like are really really focused on and like almost obsessed, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yep.
they really care about the case. It's not really for views, but I think for some, it's just they're trying to
It's
just milk
yeah, I
it.
think it's sort of like you can tell like the creators that do it as like part of a way of like following their natural curiosity, like we were
Right,
talking about earlier, like just sort of because I want to know, you want to know, no one wants to know, other people want to know,
right.
and that's part of like the process of making a video is you just learn so much. So yeah, I do sense that, and I try to, yeah. Anyway, it's a good point, and I think it's definitely something to reflect on for
Yeah,
sure.
it's not. I'm not being a hater.
No, no, yeah,
Oh, it's when it comes to like people like true crime is a interesting genre. It's
yes,
so many crazy things happen in life to have these cases happen, but when I think there's something about this case in particular that is that struck a nerve with a certain amount of people like me, you, and then everyone in the chat. You know,
yeah.
like there's something about I don't know. I can't really pinpoint exactly what it is, but there's something that makes this case just. What do you think that is?
Well, I was trying to kind of put that together a little bit, and I mean, I think the thing that I sort of struck on first is like the family dynamics of it, and it's something I sort of thought about a lot over the last few days because I think I see echoes of it in my own family and other
Mhm.
families I know. And it's nowhere near obviously what the Adelsons are, but I just like little pieces of it. And I think that's sort of the thing that is the real pull. And I think that's sort of why this case has been slowly boiling. Like I think as we get closer to Donna's case, this thing, it could take on another life entirely. And it's
Right.
had like a number of those cycles already, but that's the thing I sort of landed on first.
I think with this case, it's one person said that it's you have the polar opposites in the socioeconomic
Yep.
sphere, right? You have this rich family, and then you have the hood, and that does the dirty work, and they're all in jail, and these people are all free, and that was the case for a long time. It was just very I think
Mm.
sometimes like with this case, like some people see people in this case and it reckon they it's someone it's they're almost like someone that they know,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know?
And there's such a wide range of people to choose from, like the Markels to the Adelsons,
Right.
and L.W. Grant's mom. This case is Shakespearean. It's such a perfect analogy.
Yeah. And
There's all the different archetypes are here.
right. And and everyone did it for so many different reasons. You have people that did it for money, and people like Sigfredo did it because he was pretty much manipulated by Katie. She held the carrot in front of him and said, "You want to be back with me? You have to go do this," and that sucks. I
Mm,
mean, uh,
yeah.
and someone like Wendi, I the way she and when you said like Wendy, when you said when we were going over notes that how is someone did I meet a Wendy in the past? You asked me. Yeah,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
mother. I mean, that's serious.
Yeah.
My mom has a master's in English,
Mhm.
and she's one of the most like she's charismatic, but behind closed doors,
Mm,
she's a different person,
yep.
and she plays with the language and she changes your question. You ask her a question, she answers you in a way that changes your question. She plays
Yep.
semantics tennis, and it's just exhausting.
Yeah.
And it and
Yep.
it and it took me a long time to really realize. Like, I mean, my psychiatrist is like, "She's your problem." And I was like, "Oh no, she's the greatest mom." No, she
Mm,
really had me in the matrix for a very large part
mm,
of my life. But Wendy she's just like her, and it's like, oh, she's like Wendy's exactly like my mom, exactly like my mom, and the way that um she talks, and it's just and you won't realize it that she's really just trying to not necessarily manipulate you, but like uh, it you realize over time that like whatever she's saying is just wrong. It's just
Mm,
there's something wrong about it. Like my own mother can say something that sounds nice, and then you'll walk away feeling like,
mm,
hey, what did you say? You know?
yeah.
And it's like Wendy can just says things, and I'll go back and watch something in a trial, and I'll be like, oh, that was
Mhm.
she's
Yeah.
and I mean,
It's always like a web with Wendy. It's
yeah,
never, yeah, it's like such a, yeah. And one thing that Lacasse highlighted, I thought was really interesting is just how she, sort of loves to play like mind games.
yeah. Jeff
And
Lacasse,
people like that do frustrate me a
yeah,
lot.
Jeff Lacasse, standing applause to Jeff Lacasse.
Yeah.
This man really, between him, Tamir Demko, but like Jeff Lacasse really had the insight to really stop and say, you know what? Let me go back and look at my text. Let me go back and see what she said at this on these days. And he's piecing it together. He's putting the notes together. He goes back in there and says, "This I was in the Matrix, in the
Mm,
Wendi Matrix for X amount of time, and this is what's going on." And it's almost like they seem so dismissive about it, but he's telling you, I'm an academic. I do research. This is what I do, but this is
mm.
my personal life. I paid $2,000 in for therapy. He's the hero in this for real. Like
Yep.
seriously.
Yeah, one of my favorite pieces of media associated with this case just randomly is that "Thank you, Jeff" thing. It just makes me chuckle. I think it was from the Society page.
Uh-huh.
It's just like a meme of, to like Ariana Grande's "Thank You Next." It's like a meme song, but I don't know, for some reason, like I just love
Yeah, Jeff
things
Jeff
like,
really when I think it was Rashbaum that tried to press him on the stand, he's just like,
yeah.
well, what I'm telling you is the truth. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
I can't stand Rashbaum. I
No.
really can't, but I'm glad he's a bad attorney for Charlie and the Adelsons because
He's perfect for them.
like there's so many things that as a lawyer, as a criminal defense lawyer, that he just didn't instruct Charlie on. Like, why are you making all these faces and doing this and
Yeah.
that on the like everyone, the judge sees that, more important, like everyone sees that. And
Zero client
and
control. Yep.
even Rashbaum will sit there. I remember when Georgia Kaplan was doing her closing argument on at Charlie's trial, and Rashbaum sitting there like, oh, you can't see my face, but he's like smirking, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like he's smirking, and I'm like, look, you're about to be cooked, man. And I almost wish that what's that woman's name? Castalzo was Donna's attorney the whole time because she's a mess. She's a
Mm,
whole mess.
mm. Yeah, I need to do like a rewatch of some of the stuff from the first couple trials because I haven't watched it as much as like the later stuff.
Mhm.
I was thinking about calling it here pretty soon.
Yeah,
Was there anything that you wanted to like plug or talk about before we end for the night? Or I was just
I'm
gonna,
not I'm not I'm not plugging anything. I'm not
yep,
promoting anything.
yep.
Um,
I know
I just
I have the
I'm
same
gonna,
sort of instinct, so yeah.
it's just I'll have the Wendy's Television Part 7 out hopefully within a week.
Yeah.
Everything
Take your
that I
time,
spoke
man.
about,
Yeah. Yep.
everything that I spoke about that you didn't see in any of my previous videos, it will be in there, the full visual.
Mm.
So
And good. I just there's so many little details, and it really like the little I love to leave Easter eggs as well. So it just makes me want to like look even deeper into your vids. And I just wanted to say thank Annie McGee for having like the perfect sentiment to end on. Dan Markel brought all of us together for justice, and I think that's sort of
yeah.
a great way to end it. So yeah, thank you so much for all the prep and everything that you've done.
Thank you,
And
man. And thanks for inviting me. Like I really wasn't expecting that, like expecting an invite for a live stream like ever.
mm,
I was really flattered by that. And I was hella nervous before I caught up there. I was like, oh no,
it
I don't
is
know how
nervous
it's
the
gonna
first
look.
time. Yep.
Um,
No, that went swimmingly for me. So yep.
Yeah, but let me say one more thing.
Sure, of course, man. Floor
If
is
you're
yours.
wondering why I'm like covering my face, here's the reason why. Like first, I really like just separating myself from my
Yep.
art.
Yep.
Also, I don't. I want you to like if I in terms of videos or even just right now, like it's not about me. Like
Yep.
whatever I say, I do the research, but I like when people judge my content for the content, not who I am. And also it is kind of I have a certain amount of credibility for what I'm talking about, but in real life it doesn't work for me that way. Right? So
Yeah.
if I'm talking about things like as explaining what Luis Rivera is saying, yeah, I have credibility to understand what he's talking about and translating it to you. However, in my normal life, it just doesn't. I I can't really. It's different. So
Yep.
it's not about like me as a person. I mean, maybe one day, but like where I'll talk about it and you know. I mean, y'all might even see me at Donna's trial, but you won't really know that. I might be there. I look good.
Oh. Yeah. All
So
right. All
I
right.
might be down there, but like,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like it. I I just like kind of keeping everything separate that way. But
Cool.
I really appreciate like all the feedback that I've got on the videos and Leo too, and it's just it's really amazing. Like I look at my notifications, I'm like, damn, like I really am like unbelievably like flattered and like blown away by some of the things that y'all say, and I'm really grateful for that.
Cool. Well, let's end it there. What do you think? Good stream, man.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Be
We'll talk
safe,
to you
all
soon.
right?
Later.
Peace. Be safe.